And hey, good morning. It's Ken Walls. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I appreciate you guys jumping on. I want to thank you in advance to anyone and everyone who shares this out. Listen, you want to hear this guy, and you want your friends to hear this guy. The guest I have on today is a true blue entrepreneur. The guy has, you'll see. I'm going to let him tell his story. I want to go ahead and bring him on camera here. Welcome to the show, Mr. Brian Hess. How are you, bro?
I'm great, man. I'm fantastic. I'm in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, here at a truck stop. So we're having a good day, man. I'm dodging big storms here, driving from Chicago to Pittsburgh.
Oh my God,
good, man.
Dude, you got to show everybody your dream home sitting right next to you, man.
Oh yeah, I was just telling Ken before we went live here. I'm like, man, if people could see what I'm in the middle of here, I'm in a truck stop and I got a tractor trailer on one side. Let me see if I can get this thing on here. Look at it. Look at this bad boy. Look at that little.
Nice.
Somebody's living in there, man.
Wow.
Somebody's living in there.
Wow. Well, dude, and I genuinely, because I had a gap in the schedule, and I reached out to you last night, and I'm like, dude, I know you said you'd be on the show. Will you do it tomorrow? And you're like, well, I'll be driving, but hey, I'll pull over, man. And I love that, man. That's
what we do. That's what we do, man.
Like,
make it happen, right?
Doing whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. So this show is about helping people have a breakthrough. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's an entrepreneur, but anybody really, because in life we hit those walls, right? And it just worked out that happens to be my last name also. But we hit those walls in life, and a lot of people get stuck and they stay there and they don't know how to get through. And so I want to start with having my audience get to know who you are. So let's talk about that a little bit, man. Where were you born and raised, Brian?
Born and raised in a small town outside of Pittsburgh called Uniontown, Pennsylvania. So it's right on the West Virginia border.
Yep.
And Dad was a steel worker. So you're from Pittsburgh, so my dad worked for U.S. Steel for 43 years, and Mom stayed home and raised us. So we were lucky to have that situation, and then, from Uniontown, ended up in Pittsburgh, go to college, end up in the bigger city near the small city. And, moved to Pittsburgh and spent my whole life in Pittsburgh outside of 5 years in South Florida. So,
wow.
Lucky to be born and raised, in a place that has, that blue collar grit and values, that Pittsburgh kind of identifies with, People know the Steelers and the grit and toughness that the Steelers have, and it's really, it's funny. It is the identity of the city. It's a lot of that whole steel town, blue collar tradition has stayed around Pittsburgh, and I believe what makes a lot of people that come from Pittsburgh successful in some way or another.
Right. And I told you I lived out there. I love Pittsburgh. I lived out there for about a year, a little over a year. And man, I'll tell you what I found interesting though is the Pittsburghians. is that a word? People from Pittsburgh have a tendency, from what I saw, they love the Penguins more than they love the Steelers, it seems like.
Well, that's a new thing, right? So Mary Lemieux came in the 90s, and we had a couple good years there, and then we got fortunate enough to get Sidney Crosby in the lottery there, and so it is a close race now in the city of Pittsburgh, where a lot of people like the Penguins more than the Steelers now, which is for me it's a toss up, man. I'm a fan of both, and go to a lot of games, as many as I can get to for both. So.
Dude, I've been a Steelers fan since I was 7 years old, and living in Central Ohio, I mean, there's only two choices: the Bengals or the Steelers. That's it.
That's true.
There's
That's true.
some
and
other...
you're surrounded by Ohio State people too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some other team. I don't.
Buckeye fans.
What's that?
The Buckeye fans are everywhere out there, man.
They're a little bit insane, actually. So, they really are. There's people that paint their house like scarlet and gray, and I'm like, I don't get that, man. Like, no. But whatever. To each their own. So you were born and raised over there. You went to like all of your elementary and high school and all that in Uniontown.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I've been to Uniontown, by the way.
Small little place, man. It's a small little place right on the West Virginia border in Fayette County, Pennsylvania.
I know exactly. I had an office in Triadelphia, so I know exactly where you were. So okay, when you grew up, did you end up going to college? You said.
I did. I went to University of Pittsburgh and, kind of fell in love with business while I was in school and left school early. So I am not a bachelor degreed entrepreneur. I am a school of hard knocks educated entrepreneur. So,
dude, how in the world can you succeed without a degree?
Well, it's funny, man. I tell people this story a lot, and I used to have to tell it all the time in interviews when I was in corporate America, because a lot of focus is put on, in corporate America, a lot of people focus on degreed individuals and promoting those people. Yeah. And I would always say, I think that a lot of the success and drive that I had came from, not having that and feeling like I had to outwork everybody. And that was kind of my selling point or my closing statement in an interview was, listen, man, you can hire the person that has a degree or the piece of paper if you want to, but I can guarantee you that I'll beat them here in the morning and I'll be here long after they leave at night. And, that is that chip on your shoulder, whether you have a degree or not. And I don't discount people that go to college and graduate because I think it's a great sign of discipline and certainly can produce success. But I think you have to, there's a mentor that I had says play like a walk-on, right? The people that get scholarships versus those that are walk-ons. The walk-ons tend to work a lot harder sometimes. And that was the approach that I always took was, I didn't have that, so I had to outwork everybody and kind of prove myself because I felt like I was lacking that piece of paper, which I don't feel like that anymore, but at one point in my 20s, I certainly did.
Hey, I don't know if you've heard this story, but I had my senior year, I had taken all the college prep, math, algebra, calculus, all of it, right? And they called me in like 3 months before graduation and said, hey, you didn't get a biology credit in 10th grade. You're going to have to come back next year. And I'm like, what? How's biology going to help me? I'm never going to pursue that field because I hate it. So how's that going to help me make money? And they're like, well, it's a requirement to graduate. So I tried negotiating, no, come on, let's just roll with this. And no. So I just said, well, then I'm out. Good luck. See you guys. I'm out of here. And I ended up walking out. And so now I don't recommend that, but I went through life exactly the way you're talking, man. I had that and now I've had, I had my former assistant. Had her Juris Doctorate. She practiced law for 15 years and then came and worked for me. And, I always say jokingly, I didn't go to college. I didn't even graduate high school, but I've had a lot of college graduates work for me over the years. Right?
Yeah. I always say, man, I try to surround myself with doctors and master's degrees and all that stuff, but Yeah, that's how it works, man. It's about your talent, your drive, and what you have inside of you. And college, having a university degree is certainly, something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
But by no means anybody that's out there that feels the way that we felt at some point should never feel like they can't make it or they can't do something because they don't have it, because it's not true.
Right. I agree, man. It really truly comes down to what you said. It's about that hustle, man. But I've always said, I've never had an employee, by the way, ever outwork me, ever. I just like, and if I see somebody like coming up on my, I'll do some extra shots of coffee. like no.
I agree, man. I agree. It's one of them things, and if you have that, it's a sign of future success, man. If your employees have that level of respect for you, like, man, he's not going to ask me to do anything that he won't do, and lead from the front, if you will. That's a common denominator of a lot of successful people.
You're right, dude. So let me ask you this, man. Because generally I think that people, we all have somebody in our childhood or something in our childhood that kind of, pushes us to become who we become as adults. So when I say that, what comes to mind for you? Like, what was your biggest influence in childhood that pushed you into what you eventually became?
My parents, for sure. Just straight up. I watched my dad, from a very young age, take that whatever it takes mentality and do it. And when you're working in a steel mill 70 hours a week, to provide for your family, and we did at my house, we did everything ourselves, so I learned to pour concrete and put on roofs and whatever it took to do things around the house. We didn't pay people to do that stuff.
Right.
We did that stuff as a family. I said my dad's the luckiest guy in the world to have two boys, because he wouldn't have got anything done if he had two girls, right? But we were handling everything around the house, from building a garage. We pretty much built a garage from scratch, and so I saw and learned that work ethic, and and my mom sacrificing everything to raise us and get us everywhere we needed to go. And, baseball practices. My dad would come straight from the steel mill. He was my baseball coach, when I was young. And my mom had the equipment bag, that you needed for the youth baseball team.
Yeah.
We'd have that in the trunk, and my dad would come straight from the steel mill and walk right into the dugout and coach the game. And, that's, when you see that work ethic, it wears off on you. My brother, very successful, and has a good work ethic and steady and stable.
Yeah.
And it comes from, I believe that it comes from a blueprint.
It's weird. Okay, I think we're back. I don't know what happened there, dude. Sorry.
Right, cool.
Yeah, I've never had that happen. It just stopped all of a sudden. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, I agree with you, man. It's it's huge to have that blueprint, to have somebody that and you as a child. I mean, your parents didn't let you sit around and play on your. Well, you probably didn't have an iPhone back then.
No, there were no iPhones, man, and there was Atari when I was a kid with the two prongs on the back of the TV with the screw down.
Right.
And and I think taking that blueprint a step further, man, because there's a lot of people that don't have that, right? And don't have that structure at home or somebody kind of pushing them. And I would say to those folks, if the show's about having breakthroughs, it's like, go find that person. Because there's a lot of people out there, and social media, and the power of social media is your ability to make those connections and find those mentors and those people who will help you with that stuff, and you can't replace life experience. And, if you don't have somebody that's helping you through problems, challenges, and adversities, it's going to take you a lot longer to figure it out on your own than if you align yourself with the right people and get advice from people who have already been through it. It's just going to accelerate where you can get through and where you can get to and what you can get through.
Right. I agree with you, man. So let me ask you. So you ended up how long did you go to college? Just a year or two, or
2.5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so 2.5 years into the college gig, something changed, at least in your mindset, right? And
Yep.
and you made a decision to say the hell with this, right, and you went somewhere else. And hey, we have Jerry Acuff on here, David Miner. We have a lot of great people watching, man. So you ended up doing something else. Tell me what that was.
Yeah, so I was actually working a job while I was going to school and in retail, and that, you know, basically I got an offer to have a job, you know, a full-time job that I was, you know, in my mind at the time, I was going to make as much money as I would when I got out of school. And so, you know, that was a tough decision for me because, you know, for me, I'm sitting in business classes in school and thinking to myself, like, man, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I'm listening to these guys and I'm doing it, you know, I'm in business while I'm in school. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that they teach you in school, I mean, it's the right concept, but in real life, you know, you can have the best plan ever, but when you get into the real world of business and things start happening, you get people involved, those things change.
Yep.
And you have to learn from the school of hard knocks or the school of experience how to deal with those real world business scenarios. And, you know, that's probably the hardest part, you know, of making the jump is there's safety and security in a classroom, right? And when you're in college and you get out of college and you transition to the real world, you know, your grade point average becomes your paycheck. And, you know, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so that's what made me ultimately decide to, you know, take a jump was I had an opportunity to work and make the same amount of money I would have, you know, when I finished a year and a half, 2 years later.
Yeah. And then, so you start, and you said it was in retail?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I took a retail store manager job.
Okay.
You know, at a clothing store, and then from there I transitioned into working in technology. So I was working in retail and technology, and then I ended up at Verizon as in corporate America. Started as a retail store manager and worked my way into outside sales in the business team.
Yeah.
And then, you know, all the way up to a sales director for Verizon, and then, you know, from there, I got hired away from Verizon by a construction company.
Yeah.
And they offered me a role in private business, and that's a whole different story, man. I moved to Florida with Verizon, and my very first appointment when I went to Florida was with a construction company, and I, you know, was offered a job at the end of it. The guy happened to he was born and raised in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Right outside of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And he was like, man, I need a guy from Pittsburgh, you know, that work ethic that's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know, it's rare in South Florida. And, you know, at that time I was like, man, I got a pretty good gig here going, and I'm good, man. But, you know, we built the relationship, and a year to the day later from when I moved to South Florida, I took that job in private business.
So I want to back up a little bit because and you don't have to tell everybody what you were making, but if you want to tell everybody, I think because here's why. I know you told me, and you don't have to share it if you don't want, but I think that people need to see that, dude, you're a college dropout. You didn't even get a degree. Like you know, You're just barely smarter than me. Okay, right?
I don't know about that being smarter than you, but
anyway, like, dude, so you didn't get a college degree. You left and you went to work at Verizon, selling cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So
ultimately, yeah.
Right. So what is it about you that, because, dude, I've met some people with master's degrees and PhDs that don't have two nickels to rub together, and they can't figure it out, right? So what is it about you, somebody like you or somebody like me, in your opinion, that's different from those people that are unbelievably educated and can't figure it out?
I think, man, that it's the analytical and numbers mind. When you in business, you can have the best concept in the world, but you have to be able to mentally figure out how to scale that, right? And one of the things in sales that people miss is, they look at, when we train people, we're trying to get them in our world to sell $3 million worth of construction business. Well, you have to figure out how to make the amount of money you want to make. So, for example, if somebody wants to make $250,000 and they're paid on a 20% commission and their average sale is, $25,000, it is simple mathematics that tells you what you need to do every day,
right,
to be able to make the income that you want to make. And so I think what people do, man, is they get their emotions tied up in what is a non-emotional situation. It is, if you can keep the emotions out of it and just stick to the plan,
yep,
and all the noise that comes at you in life, you have to be able to process that noise and move on faster than most, right?
Yep.
One of the things that I tell people when I train them in sales is, everybody goes through the bullshit.
Yep.
But champions, the people who do the best, they just get over it faster and get back to what they're supposed to be doing. And that's true with professional athletes, right? If you look at professional athletes that are, the very, very top of the chain, those guys go through unbelievable pressure situations.
Yep.
But they can handle them better. When the game's on the line, who wants the ball? It's the guy with the toughest mental makeup, and that is ultimately, that is how business works and sales works and income works. Is you have to be able to remove your emotions and literally just do the activities that it takes to be successful. And that's, people look in the social media game that everybody plays, and everybody's out there telling you this and telling you that, and you can have whatever car you want. Just don't ever forget that it takes work. You don't just like create a great idea and a plan and get a car or get a house or it's work.
Yep.
That produces those results. And that's, you have to be intelligent and analytical about where you spend your time and how you are every day spending time trying to get where you're trying to go. And I think that's, people talk a lot about where they want to go, but they need to put the action behind it that supports what they say.
Dude, that is so freaking spot on, man. God, that is so true. I mean, people, you see it all over, especially on social media, man. You see all these people are like, but dude, you got it. Like yesterday, I don't even know how many phone calls and emails and I'm talking cold calls and strong follow-up stuff I did yesterday. I mean, it was a lot, right? And so nothing fired. Nothing fired. But I just kept hitting it, like, because I know that whatever I'm doing right now, it's eventually it's gonna come. But you gotta, dude, it's gotta be consistent, right?
Yeah, I use this analogy a lot, man. This is a really good one for salespeople. Everybody has microwave popcorn. Hopefully everybody watching has. And sometimes you put the bag in the microwave, and you're like looking in the microwave, and you're like, man, there's nothing popping in there. Is that something wrong with this bag of popcorn? And then all of a sudden, it's like pop, 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 pop. And it is the same in sales, man. You have, you sow the seeds, you wait for them to grow, and they don't all grow at the same time. But it is, a lot of times, it's your mind telling you, oh man, I didn't get anything today. And I did a quick video a couple weeks ago that I posted about, it is not about the results that you get every day. It is about doing what you're supposed to do every day. And I promise you, if you do what you're supposed to do every day, you will get the right result. You cannot do the right thing every single day and put in as much effort as you possibly can and get the wrong result. It just doesn't work like that. And I think we had this conversation offline, like,
Yep.
you know, people that go out there and say, man, I'm doing it all right, and I'm doing, like, it's not possible. Either you're not doing the right thing, or
Right.
you have chosen the wrong thing to do, or
Right.
you're not doing what you say you're going to do. Because if you do the right thing every single day, consistently,
Yep.
for an extended period of time, it is impossible to get the wrong result.
I 1,000,000,000,000% agree with you, man. And I love that post, man, because you're right. You're spot on. So somebody that is saying that, right? What you're talking about. I'm doing everything, you know, and I don't know if you've seen the video of Tony Robbins, and he's talking like somebody said, well, I've tried everything. He's like, really? Name 3. And they're, well,
Yeah.
okay, well, I've tried one thing many times, and he's like, okay, how often are you doing that one thing? Like, you know, how hard are you pushing? And that's the thing, dude, is, you know, and I know, we all do. Everybody watching this knows that we want maximum results for minimum effort. I would much rather be out riding bicycles with my little girl than working, okay? I'm not going to lie. I'd much rather be over on the golf course playing golf, just like you, right? You'd rather be doing anything besides driving from freaking Chicago to Pittsburgh. Right?
For the second time in 2 weeks, by the way.
I know, dude. I know, you're just like an hour and a half north of me right now. But like you know, but you're doing whatever you have to do right now, so you can do whatever you want to do later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and listen, man, I think the other thing that I think people don't realize is a lot of times this is, you know, and my wife is unbelievable. You know, she supports everything, and, you know, balancing. I have 3 kids, you know, almost 6 years old, 3 years old, and almost a year old. And, you know, finding that balance is hard, man, because, you know, when you're on the road, you miss your family, and you know, but I know that the sacrifice that I make will be worth it because of the freedom and security that it provides for my family. And, you know, I think the quote is like, you can either sacrifice today to get what you want, or you can sacrifice because you can't have what you want, right? And,
Right.
And that's not, for me, this is not a monetary statement. Like, for me, it is about, first and foremost, I do what I do because it is a passion of mine. Like, I would not be a good husband or a good father if I was not fulfilling my potential and being able to go out there and get it the way that I can. And that, I believe that my wife knows that and sees that. So it's not, for us, for our family, it's not a money thing. It's you know, and a lot of people throw this word around. It was a big thing this weekend at Meltdown in the Desert, but legacy, right? It's like, I want to show my kids and my family and other people that you can not finish college, have the odds against you, and you can work through it. And
Yep.
and I'm not going to sit here and tell you like that I have some traumatic story or some like crazy uphill climb, because I don't feel that way. I feel like I did, you know, what I had to do every single day, because that's what was inside of me to do. You know, I am in constant pursuit of trying to become better at everything I do. Better father, better husband, better business person, better friend. I'm not perfect, man. I'm sure that there are people that, you know, watch me that have been friends of mine that would, you know, say things, but I know that I give it 150% every day.
Yep.
And that's all I care about, is if I feel like when I lay my head on the pillow at night that I got a passing grade for that day, I'm making progress. And if I had a bad day and I got a failing grade, then I'm going to make up for it tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, that's it, dude. That's it. Dude, so let me ask you, like, you know, because I know you do some coaching, right? Don't you do some coaching?
Yep.
And I do some coaching, and I you know, we have people that reach out to us that are that get stuck or whatever. What do you think the number one thing is that you see people doing or not doing that's blocking their success in life, that's blocking them from getting whatever it is they want? Not everybody wants to be multimillionaires. Some people just want to pay off their house and have their cars paid for and travel the world. I don't know, but what do you think the number one thing is that's preventing success for people?
They listen way too much to other people.
Boom.
Like for me, it is when you and I'll give an example of a guy that I worked with last year that achieved an unbelievable level of success. And if you were to ask him, he told me at the end of the year, he's like, man, what you told me that I was going to accomplish or that we were going to accomplish, I didn't think it was possible, because he had never seen it before.
Right.
And people told him that it wasn't possible, and that became, an underlying current of when it gets tough, you tend to back off the gas pedal because you think, well, this is what's supposed to happen. I'm not going to make it, and and that's, you cannot listen to other people tell you what you can do, because they're only telling you from their perspective and what they've experienced in life. And I think that if you get around people that think bigger and have bigger goals, you're going to find out that you can do a hell of a lot more than what you think you can. And the less you listen to other people, I use this example all the time, and I complimented, my parents early on, but, I came from a really small town, man, where there's a lot of people that struggle and a lot of people that don't do well.
Right.
And, and I say this a lot, like, I think my parents at times in my life, probably maybe still today, think that I'm crazy for some of the things that I do.
Right.
Because that's not what they wanted me to be safe and stable.
Right.
And so most of the people that care about you in your life that are closest to you are going to encourage you to be safe.
Yep.
Right? Nobody's going to tell you, Ken, I think you should go risk it all because of the reward you could get. Nobody's going to give you that advice. You have to have that inside of you.
Yep.
And you got to block out all that noise, and you got to listen to yourself.
That's
listen
right.
to that inner voice that will take you wherever you want to go. And no matter how hard it gets, if you have that passion, you're gonna work through it. And that is, as long as you don't quit, man, you're always gonna make it. And
I agree.
That is what people do. That's what people need to stop doing, is stop listening to everybody else, because they want you to be safe. They don't want you to achieve what's in your heart and in your mind.
And it's not even, I don't think it's that they don't mean it in a harmful way. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Some of these people truly love you. Parents, siblings, people that are closest to you, they really, truly do love you, and they want you to just, get a job at Verizon, go make your 6 figures at Verizon, and God, Brian, can't you just be happy? You ever heard that?
And listen, man, that is probably something that a lot of people think about me. Because, I am blessed to have the wife and kids that I have. I'm blessed to have the parents and family that I have. And people think, I drive to Chicago twice in 2 weeks. I'm away from my kids a lot. And they think, man, why can't you just be happy? You have maybe a life that a lot of people would look at and say they would like to have. And for me, again, it is not about money or success. It's about, that is part of my DNA.
Yep.
Is pushing to see what's out there and trying to help people, really, is the underlying current of what I try to do. Is whether it's my clients or coaching clients or employees or business whatever. I want to, if I was to leave this earth tomorrow, I want people to say that I made a difference. If I was to write my own eulogy, I would want somebody to say, man, this guy helped me. And I think what most people in that position that strive for that level of success, that is the underlying current driver of everything is, it's you can't chase money. If you chase money, it'll run away from you.
Yep.
That's how it works. If you chase, I'd listened to this on a podcast the other day, Luke Nestler's podcast. I can't remember. Sabrina Lloyd said, if you chase money, it'll run from you. But if you chase hard work eventually will run from you too, and it'll get easy because you're willing to do the things that are hard to get there.
It's true, man. Wow. That's freaking awesome. What an awesome interview this has been, dude. So the number one thing, let's recap that. The number one thing holding people back is listening to too many other people.
1,000%, man. Every person that I've seen go from, what I consider underachieving compared to their potential, to reaching a different level of success and income and happiness and all that stuff. I think all of them would tell you that it was a lot of what was holding them back was they didn't see the potential.
Yeah.
They didn't believe in what was there. And a lot of people told them not to take the risk and not to, man, I don't know if that's a good idea. And you got to follow your heart, man. And you got to follow, your own passion and your own motivation and block out what everybody else tells you.
So with that being said, so let's say that you're somebody that's struggling right now. Everything keeps going wrong. You can't pay your electric bill. It's getting shut off tomorrow. Have you ever had any struggles like that?
I can't say that I've really been in terrible situations.
Okay.
I've definitely, in my 20s, I was, just as foolish as everybody else is as far as what you do with your money.
Right.
But I've been in situations where money gets tight.
Right.
And you've got to make it happen. And I've definitely been uncomfortable.
Yeah, sure.
I've never been in a situation where I was going to have something shut off. But
right.
But I did think that was going to happen eventually.
Right? Yeah, right.
So I'm you get that thought man, I better make something happen here.
Yeah.
or I'm going to end up in that scenario. And I think discomfort, if you seek discomfort, man, it's what creates success.
Yes.
And, it's those moments when you look back on your life and you were in the toughest situations, man, that really teach you how to be better in the situations where you're in a good situation. If you never forget those things, that is what creates the stability in the future and creates your ability to make better decisions. Comes from pain.
Yep.
Most of the time, it comes from your pain or somebody else's pain, but it comes from experience of watching things go really well or watching things go bad. Tony Robbins is a good example. He says everything is driven from pain or pleasure, and it is true.
Yep.
That's how human beings function. They make decisions either on what they don't want or what they really do want.
Dude, I wrote about that exact thing in my book. That exact thing, I wrote about it. And it's called it's Walls of Wisdom, Turning Pain into Profit. So, it is, everything is driven by, I can tell you, hey, don't touch that burner over there, man, it's hot. And you may or may not believe me, but typically it's going to be your own pain that's like, oh, wow, yeah, that's hot. So my problem's always was it really? Or was that all in my head? And so I'll touch it again. It's what the heck, man?
Dude, some people touch it repeatedly, right? You just watch people and you're like, what the hell is wrong? I use that exact analogy. I'm like, man, when I touch the stove and the stove is hot, I at least think twice before I go back and touch it again,
Right.
But that's an interesting perspective. Was it really hot, or was I just thinking that it was hot?
Right.
But if you got scars on your hands, man, you lose all your fingerprints, you can rest assured it was hot.
It was hot, very hot. But that person that I was starting to talk about, the person who is in the situation where, they just don't believe in themselves, they've gotten themselves down to nothing, and things are looking like they're going to get shut off, or, whatever. I mean, what do you say to that person? Like, cut out all the people in your life, or what do you say to them? What do you think what's the first step that person needs to take to really get out of the situation?
Man, you asked some good questions, man. You asked some really good questions. Here's what I would say is, number one, you have to some degree, you got to watch the people in your life. But I think the most important thing is, without a doubt, to find a person that can help you gain some momentum. And I use this in sales all the time. I think momentum is one of the things that's way underestimated in life, whether it's in sports or sales or business. You have to get the motor running. And once you get the motor running and you start to gain some momentum, with momentum comes confidence. And all you need is to start to get moving in the right direction. And a lot of times when people are in that situation, they can't see their way out. And I actually did a video on this one too. People try to shortcut getting out of the problem that they cause for themselves. And, my dad used to tell me when I was a kid, my whole life actually, probably would still tell me to this day if the situation was appropriate.
Yeah.
First thing you got to do when you find yourself in a hole is stop digging.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then you got to realize how deep the hole is that you're in, and you can't try to just leap out all at one time. And
right.
That's what, our society today is so instantaneous. We think that we can just, shortcut everything, and you can't. It's going to take you time to get out of that hole that you caused, and you have to be impatient enough to get out of there fast, but patient enough to realize that if you try to jump out of the hole, you're going to end up tired, frustrated, and back in the bottom of the same hole.
Yeah.
Because, you can't, you got to climb out. You can't jump out. And that's what people miss is, you got to find a person that can be there for you and encourage you
right.
when the same things start happening. Because just because you're in a hole and you create a good plan doesn't mean you're not going to hit adversity. And when people are in that bad situation, they want everything to go smooth. And it's not going to happen. You got to have that person to kind of keep you on track and just say, man, this is what's supposed to happen. Just keep going, and you're going to find your way out. But you have to be, persistent and disciplined enough to, again, every day do the activities, the actual work and actions that it takes to get out of it.
Love it, dude. I love it. You're right. I've said that myself many times. I used to be in a group that we would help, people that had an alcohol problem, and I had that problem for a long time, and have 16 years sober now, and are coming up on it, and I used to say that, man, when you find yourself at the bottom of a deep dark hole, the first thing you have to do is you've got to stop digging. And it applies, that in layman's terms, it would be like, dude, if you keep having problems like getting DUIs and into bar fights and bad relationships, and there's a couple of things you may want to look at. What are the common denominators? You're always going to be one of the common denominators, right? And then, hey, man, and you obviously you can't remove you from the equation, but at least remove the influence of alcohol from the equation, and that's the digging. Stop digging, man. So that's so true, dude. But so, and we're coming up to the end of it, but I guess for you, what's coming down the pike for you? What do you got going now? Because I know you're you don't have to tell the whole story, but I know you got into your own business after working
Yep.
for the dude in Florida. you want to talk about what's happening for you right now?
Yeah, sure. So we've got the Pavement Group is our company. So we do business with large property owners, so multi-property owners, like 100 properties and up, 50 properties and up. Retailers, hotels, restaurants, large companies, Fortune 50 companies, and we help them manage their pavement assets. So that's our main gig, and that is, we provide kind of a unique approach to how we do that. So we help people really get their arms around understanding that stuff. We are an asphalt paving and concrete company, but I like to say, we're a lot more than that, because we don't take the normal contractor approach. We try to get from where we sit as a contractor to the other side of the desk and sit alongside the property owner or manager and really help them understand how to effectively manage those assets from a financial standpoint. And that's what makes us unique. So that's part of it. That's a very busy business, very active business. We got a lot going on there. And then on top of that, kind of my passion project, if you will, is Top Contractor School, and that is, helping other contractors, helping salespeople kind of realize the potential that we're talking about here today, and help them put in place the discipline and activities and the processes, the sales process and all of the things that it takes to either be a successful entrepreneur, contractor, salesperson, etc. We give them, all of the tools and things to, hopefully take their life to a whole new level and take their career and future to a whole new level.
Dude, that's awesome, man. You're, I would say, you're doing it. So many people talk about what they want to do, what they're gonna do, and you just do it.
I appreciate that, man. It is, people look at entrepreneurship as really like a sexy term now, right? And it's not as sexy as people think it is. I mean, it's my passion, and I embrace it, and I love it.
Yep.
But it is to really grind and to really hustle and to really get it done. It is it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of discipline, and I work on it every day, man. I am far less disciplined than I hope to be someday.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm far more disciplined than I was, in the past. And so
right.
It's a journey, and it's one of those things, man. And I would say, I appreciate, our connection and you reaching out to me and us connecting. And, it's these relationships that you build, with other people and building your network and, referring each other business and just talking through things, man. That is really what makes it possible, and what encourages you to keep going is helping other people helps you keep going a lot, but B, other people helping you. And I say this all the time, but a lot of times and you're a coach, so this, like a lot of times when you're coaching someone, they don't realize how much they're helping you while you're helping them.
Dude.
And that is something that why I continue to coach and help and train people is it helps me refocus my own business, man. I'll get a call from someone, and at the end of the call, they're like, man, thank you for all the information. And I'm like, no, man, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, this hour when I was having a really bad day, just put me right back to exactly where I need to be.
Yep.
And those are the things, man, when you push out effort and you push out trying to do the right thing all the time, it eventually balances itself out. And you just got to stay calm and keep your emotions out of it and keep trucking, man, and it always works itself out.
Dude, I've said that a million times, and I in my book I wrote in my book, I said, look, one thing I'm going to say right up front is if I can remember where I learned something or heard something, I'm always going to give credit to the person that always. But I do remember one of my favorite quotes is, "There's no such thing as an original thought. All wisdom is plagiarized. Only stupidity is original." Right? So I see all these memes and these quotes and these people trying to take credit for it. And I'm like, dude, Benjamin Franklin said that shit. What are you doing, man? But,
yeah, right.
But whatever. So, I think that, again, I've said this to people I see that are like in a funk, and I know this myself. You get into funks. It's called being a human being, right? We all do. And the number one way to get out of a funk, is help somebody else.
Go help somebody.
Start reaching
you'll be out of it in a hurry, man. Yeah, you'll be out of it in a hurry.
It'll turn it around like that for you, and you'll start receiving the rewards of that. There's actually, spiritual rewards floating around out there for you. All you got to do is stop being all about you and start helping other people. So, dude, how can everybody that doesn't already know you, which I think most of my followers know you, but those that don't, like, how can they follow you, man?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm trying to do better, but I'm not a big Twitter guy. Yeah. All the platforms. My handle is Real Brian Hess. So easy to find. And then our website for the company is thepavementgroup.com, pavementgroup.com. And then Top Contractor School is topcontractorschool.com. And that's it, man. That's my whole gig,
dude,
in a nutshell.
You rock, bro. I really genuinely, because you just added an hour to your trip. So thank you for pulling off at the truck stop and doing this, man. You're a rock star, bro.
My pleasure, man. I enjoyed it, and thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate our conversations prior to this and this one.
Yeah,
always valuable and always insightful. So I appreciate it.
I agree with you, man. Thank you. So don't hang up, but I'm going to end the Facebook Live. I want to say thank you to everyone. We've had some amazing people. Sean Allen's on here, Jonathan Bryant, Elizabeth Olivieri. We've got a lot of great people on here. So thank you to everybody who shared this out, the likes, the loves, the cry faces, the everything. Really genuinely appreciate it. You guys have an awesome day, and we will see you tomorrow. Brian, thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.